Much can also be gleaned from the text about the ancient Hebrews' conception of human life in general. Usually, scholars are quick to point to Ecclesiastes as a pessimistic text that focuses on the problem of the meaninglessness of existence. We need only recall the famous beginning of that book, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What do people gain from all the toil at which they toil under the sun?" However, in the dialogues of Job with his friend, we can see numerous indications of the same rather gloomy picture of life. When Eliphaz wishes to emphasize the greatness of God, he does so by focusing on the insignificance of humans vis-a-vis the divine. He says, humans are, quote, "those who live in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed like a moth. Between morning and evening, they are destroyed. They perish forever without any regarding it." God is infinitely greater than humans since he's eternal, whereas humans perish. Eliphaz reminds us that in Genesis, God creates humans from clay or dust. In the book of Job, we also catch a glimpse of a version of the Hebrew underworld, Sheol. Like the underworld of the Mesopotamians and the Greeks, Sheol is a place under the earth where the dead go. While it's not portrayed in much detail, it's consistently characterized as a dark place, much like that portrayed in Gilgamesh. Job describes it as, quote, "the land of gloom and deep darkness, the land of gloom and chaos where light is like darkness." Job laments the human fate as follows, quote, "As the cloud fades and vanishes, so those who go down to Sheol do not come up. They return no more to their houses," end quote. As just noted, a part of Job's complaint is that both the wicked and the righteous are punished. And this is reflected in the view of Sheol, since all the dead go there. This is a similar picture to Gilgamesh, where there are no distinctions made between kings or princes and slaves, who all end up languishing in the underworld. There's a leveling effect that takes place with death. Job says, quote, "The small and the great are there, and the slaves are free from their masters." One important difference between Sheol and the underworld of the other cultures is that in the latter, a special set of gods rules. In Gilgamesh, Ereshkigal is the goddess of the underworld. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris is the king of the realm of the dead. In Greek mythology, Pluto is the ruler of Hades. These gods and goddesses are often accompanied by a set of judges. By contrast, in Judaism, God rules the entire universe alone, including Sheol. No separate set of deities is required. The negative picture of the underworld that one finds common to the Mesopotamian religions and ancient Judaism is a part of a somewhat pessimistic worldview. The more positive view of immortality in heaven is one that you find only in Christianity and Islam. This can be seen as an attempt to solve the problem of human suffering that is central to both Gilgamesh and the book of Job. With this doctrine, suffering can be explained since, although one might be made to suffer in this world, after death, the righteous will be richly rewarded in heaven in another world. Other motifs include the brevity of human life. Job says, "A mortal, born of woman, few of days and full of trouble, comes up like a flower and withers, flees like a shadow and does not last." This picture of the lot of human beings, painted by the ancient Hebrews, is a sobering one. Like the Mesopotamians, they're acutely aware of the fragility of human existence and have a sense for the futility and insignificance of all human undertakings. Another motif is the limitation of human knowledge. In chapter 28, Job reflects on the origin of wisdom. He asks, quote, "But where shall wisdom be found, and where the place of understanding? Mortals do not know the way to it, and it is not found in the land of the living." So, although the first humans have eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, their knowledge of things is ultimately limited. By contrast, true wisdom resides with God alone. Job says, quoting again, "God understands the way of wisdom, and he knows its place, for he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens." This is a motif that has resonances with the story of the fall and the Tower of Babel. According to this view, humans are not intended to have knowledge, and it's not good for them to have it. Their knowledge is only limited. Any human claim to knowledge is simple folly or vanity when compared to that of God.